Trump wants Congress to get his Save America Act across the finish line, but it could take a special kind of filibuster to get that done.
So for those who don't know about the America Save Act, would require voters to have ID number one.
Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Pergam joins us to break it down. Good morning, Chad.
Hey, guys. Passing the Save America Act is President Trump's highest priority, but Senate Majority Leader Shawn Thune dashed those hopes yesterday. He says Republicans lack the will to execute that special filibuster, which could tie the Senate in knots. You run a risk of being on the wrong side of President Trump in your resistance to do this talking filibuster, tying the Senate in knots for weeks.
We don't have the votes either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on it.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him. I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here.
It's about the math. It takes 60 votes to break a modern filibuster, but some conservatives wanted the GOP to force the Senate into an old-fashioned talking filibuster. It would last until everyone was exhausted. Then there's no need for 60, just 51 to pass the bill. House Republicans are dismayed.
It takes no convincing among House Republicans to agree to that priority. But I think he wants to send a signal to the Senate in particular that he's very serious about this, and I think the signal's been received.
Some Republicans are reluctant to push the talking filibuster because it would consume Senate floor traffic for weeks, if not months. That means no votes on anything else.
You're not ending the shutdown. You're not getting your judges, which are obviously Republican priorities. But at the same time, you are opening yourself up for amendments to be offered.
Now, those amendments are what Republicans fear the most. Democrats would make the GOP vote on everything, ranging from Iran to tariffs to the Epstein files. However, Thune promises a vote related to the bill soon. Soon.
Save our ass, same old crap the ruling class saves itself. But guess what, guess what? But everything will be okay. Guess what day it is? It's hump day. Yeah. Get it on. Hump day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have been doing a little snooping, and it turns out that we have discovered the secret plot in order to kill the SAVE Act and to protect rhinos inside of the Senate. Shawn Thune, as we have often and regularly told you, is a functionary of Mitch McConnell. He was supported by Mitch McConnell. He learned under Mitch McConnell. And Shawn Thune and Mitch McConnell's masterclass act is to betray President Trump when he needs it the most and to ensure that the Senate remains the bulwark against MAGA and America First. And that is precisely what is happening right now with the Save America Act. We are going to expose everything on this show. We're going to bring in a couple of senators, some very wise thinkers, to break down and break up, hopefully, this sabotage of the president. There's a reason why we supported Rick Scott all those years ago. It's nice to have an immaculate record. If you have an immaculate record, you can look back and you can say, you know what? We have no shame in this. We have no shame in how we approached the Senate leadership race. When Mitch McConnell dropped out, we said that Shawn Thune would be somebody who acted as a Muppet for Mitch McConnell, who would, when push came to shove, sabotage the president, because Shawn Thune was somebody who, when given an opportunity to see the winds change, showed us who he really was. He called for President Trump to drop out of the race in 2016. Remember that? He called for the mass arrests of peaceful protesters after January 6th. He called for an end to the MAGA movement. Shawn Thune is somebody who is totally and wholly compromised, owned by the corporate interests and lobbying interests of Washington, D.C. That makes him and his staff rich and powerful, and they do not want to be accountable to you. Of course, the interests in Washington, D.C. do not want the Save America Act to pass, because that means less power for them. If the Save America Act passed, then that means that every single Rhino senator would lose in flames, would go down in torched abyss. It would be like the Hindenburg explosion every single election. You'd have an actual durable MAGA majority in the Senate if you had only Americans voting in our elections. And the damn Democrats are giving up the game. Chuck Schumer just yesterday saying, there's no way we can pass the Save America Act because we'd lose hundreds of millions of voters. How many criminal aliens are voting in our election? Well, the DOJ just charged another one with voting 5 times. We'll talk about that in today's show. An absolutely important, critical Save America show. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today will be Senator Tommy Tubberville, the most honest man, I would say, arguably in the Senate, a man who has nothing to lose. He's going to be the governor of Alabama. So he doesn't have to make any friends up there, and he's going to be able to spit it real with us. Shawn Davis, the publisher of The Federalist, will be joining us as well with a pretty savage takedown of the RINOs in the Senate and what they're trying to do. The battle for the Save America Act continues. Today is Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. White House locked down as driver just smashed into the gate. We'll get to that news in just a moment. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Patriot Mobile keeps us connected in times of trial, in times of extreme breaking news, as we are living in right now at every single waking moment. ALX and I were reminiscing the other day about how we haven't had a weekend in years, actually. Because every single weekend there's, especially in 2026, there is something insane that happens. It's getting more insane. We thought 2020, you thought 2024 would just like, you think that you thought the deep state would just give it all up? You think it'd just be like, gumdrops and chocolate rivers and rainbows and sunshine? Nope. No, they're fighting harder than ever. But we're fighting back, and then there's a crazy news cycle, and you stay connected with us on your Patriot Mobile device. Patriot Mobile keeps us connected to you all day and night. We haven't not worked a full weekend, every single weekend of 2026, because, well, there's a new dictator deposed, there's a new cartel head yeeted, there's a new either war or massive cultural event. Bad Bunny, ladies and gentlemen, don't have bad cell phone service. Have good patriotic service. Patriot Mobile will hook you up. The only Christian conservative wireless provider. Get activated in minutes. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT. Promo code Benny for a free month of service. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, something wild happened this morning. And I can't wait to speak with some of our experts today on exactly why this is happening. But John Cornyn, of all people, has written a op-ed saying the SAVE Act matters more than the filibuster. A wild op-ed that, shocked me. It seems like it's something that John Cornyn is just trying to save his ass here because he sees that he is about to lose his seat. Let's read. John Cornyn saying, if a man takes a swing at you and barely misses, that doesn't make him a pacifist. It means he has bad aim. Standing still and giving him a second free swing isn't wise. In 2022, Chuck Schumer and 47 other Senate Democrats tried to change the rules of the U.S. to nuke the filibuster and ran through left-wing takeover of election laws. They just barely stopped with 2 holdout Democrats who were promptly driven out of their party. This would be Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. In 2024, Schumer confirmed to reporters the Democrats meant to finish the job and kill the filibuster's 60-vote threshold next time they're in the majority. For many years, I believe that the U.S. Senate scrapped the filibuster, Texas would lose more than it would gain. My fellow conservatives and I have proudly used the 60-vote threshold to protect the country from bad ideas. There's absolutely nothing wrong with what he's written here. Okay. Now, again, John Cornyn is a fight for his political life. Various polls show that he's either doing really, really poorly in Texas, and Ken Paxton would do much better than John Cornyn, or he's doing break even with Ken Paxton, which is terrible for somebody who's been elected, I think, 7 times to the Senate. John Cornyn has been serving in office since before I was born. So, again, I'm not a fan of John Cornyn, but I've read through now a quarter of this article, and I see nothing wrong with it. Let's continue. But when reality on the ground changes, leaders must take stock and adapt. Today, Democrats are weaponizing the Senate's rules to block the Save America Act to fund the Department of Homeland Security and hurt the American people, in spite of President Donald Trump. All to spite President Donald Trump, along with a bunch of rhinos. But they say openly, these same rules, if they ever get in power, they will rip them to shreds. A rule is only a rule if both sides follow it. I believe that Democrats, with their votes and their statements, have already dealt the filibuster a fatal blow. The Senate rules will change eventually, and Republicans will not like it. This leaves the conservatives with two options. We can either unilaterally disarm or we can stand and fight. We cannot let Democrats keep obstructing today, smash the rules first chance they get. If we act now, then we can use this mandate for the American people, gave us for this president and this Congress to secure our election and to protect the homeland. The answer is clear. We need to stand and fight. Democrats started this fight. Republicans should finish it. 48 Democrats nearly killed the filibuster. It was to pass radical legislation designed to increase election fraud. They tried to ban voter ID requirements, to decriminalize ballot harvesting, and even sent taxpayer dollars into Democrats' own campaign funds. The SAVE Act, which I've co-sponsored, would do the opposite. I'd make it easy to vote. It would make it easy to vote, but hard to cheat, requiring proof of citizenship and voter ID. These basic common sense protections, massively popular with the American people, and the fact that the radical left apparently sees them as a threat to their chances in November, truly gives the game away. The president has made the Save America Act the #1 priority, and he is right. Okay. It's urgent to overcome the obstruction. Americans are being forced to wait in line 3 hours at security checkpoints because Democrats are blocking funding of Homeland Security. It's time to end the filibuster. Okay, he goes on. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. John Cornyn, one of the Senate's biggest rhinos, coming out and saying, just end the filibuster, pass the Save America Act, and ensure that only Americans can vote in American elections. Wild morning we are having already. Pretty intense. Okay, so what's going on behind the scenes? I honestly can't believe we're having this argument. I understand that Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and some other rhinos in the Senate. Let's put up the whip count right now. Mark Meadows has the official whip count. You can see the board of rhinos here, who does actually support the filibuster and who doesn't, who is a no, effectively, on not supporting the change in rules in order to pass and save America. And there's a lot of people from hard red districts, states, deep red states that don't support this. Save America Act is actually an act for the first time in my lifetime that actually does what it says it's supposed to do. If you don't have voter ID, then there's not a single person who will ever believe the results of an election ever again in this country. Democrats have already proven that it's going to be their sole mission in life to not only naturalize as many criminal aliens as possible, and there's about 30 million of them here, but to give them immediate voting rights. And they already have voting rights technically, and we've uncovered that. I went to a toilet in California, and at this toilet, I was able to find some 30 people registered to vote.
Here, ladies in California. Yo, what's up, guys? We're outside of a very important place here in California. You'll see it's just home to a porta-john and a giant empty parking lot. But inside of this empty parking lot is something really important in the state of California. As you can see here, we have registered voters. 26 registered voters for this exact location, 100 Sunset Avenue in Venice. 26 registered voters. Right here, according to the registrar and the Secretary of State. 26 people registered to a porta-john and an empty parking lot. Where do their ballots go exactly? So who's picking up the ballots? Who's voting for the people in this lovely porta-john empty lot? That's the question. I think you know the answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, blue states have already showed us what they're about to do. They fact-checked that video. Libs fact-checked that video. And this fact-check that they slapped on it was that, wait a second, Benny, you're just describing what is legal in California. It is legal in California for you to register anywhere. At any street corner, any stop sign, any trash can, any toilet, any Burger King parking lot. That is currently the law. Democrats are going to make that the law in our country, nationally. They're going to force it unless we stop them right now. They're also going to force statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico. That'll add 2 more senators. For each state, 4 more senators. That's a permanent Senate majority. We'll never win the Senate again as Republicans. And then they'll naturalize 30 million criminal aliens. They've already said this. They've told us what they're about to do. The way that the Senate rules work right now is you don't even have to nuke the filibuster. You just do a standing talking filibuster. And what would that require? What it would require is senators actually show the hell up and work. The way that it happened in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Remember that classic old movie? The way a filibuster was supposed to work is you would have to earn it. You'd have to stand there. If you don't like a piece of legislation, you would have to stand there and talk it out. You'd have to keep the question on the floor. And the only way to keep the question on the floor would be strategy. You'd have to have somebody physically there, present at all times. You wouldn't be able to go golfing. You wouldn't be able to go out to your boat. You wouldn't be able to go to many of your mansions, Bernie Sanders. You would have to actually explain to the American people live on tape, with the whole world watching, why you're against voter ID, why you want so many people to be registered at toilets throughout the country. You would have to explain to the 20 or less % of the country that actually is against voter ID why their position is so smart. It's not. You'd be able to flip the entire argument on its head. But Shawn Thune knows that if he were to do this, one, it would take work. Two, it was to expose the rhinos in his party, because there are a number of Republicans who actually don't fully support the SAVE Act. We've put their names on screen. So this is a do or die moment for our nation. We know what the Democrats are about to do. We know why the Democrats are against this. Listen to Chuck Schumer from yesterday. Chuck Schumer, if the SAVE Act passed, what would happen exactly? Have a listen.
Yes, but their bill isn't voter ID, number one. It is about voter registration. It allows ICE to kick tens of millions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore. You're not registered here. You're not on the rolls.
Tens of billions of people. It would kick tens of billions of people off the voter rolls. Get a load of this. Breaking just this week. A legal alien charged with fraudulently voting 5 times in our elections. Mashadi Shacko, named straight out of Central Casting, 50 of Philadelphia, was arrested and charged with a criminal complaint of fraudulent voting in 2024. Shacko is an illegal alien and was ordered deported in the year 2000. Yet 25 years later, Shacko is here, illegal, and voting unlawfully in every single election. What does all evidence and all data point to when it comes to illegal alien voting or when it comes to first-generation migrant voting? It breaks 95-5 for Democrats. If you are a fool, if you don't think that Democrats are going to rip down every single border barrier, flood our nation with so many criminal aliens, criminal or legal or otherwise, as soon as they seize power one more time, and give every single one of them naturalized voting rights. They're already doing it. They say they're against voter ID. You're against voter ID, because voter ID would be an impediment to voting. Just a little bit of data here for you. Klein, please share my screen. Thank you. I asked this morning, how many Americans have flown on a commercial air flight? What percentage of Americans have flown at least one time commercially? 90%. This 300 million Americans have flown at least one time commercially. Okay, this is since 1980. So the vast majority of the country has had to use Real ID. What is Real ID? Real ID is federal law right now. That not only means you have to have an ID, you need to have full face matching and biometric composite positive indicators to let you into and onto a plane. It's not just having an ID. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a minimum security standard. The Real ID Act of 2005 finally implemented fully, and what is required in 2026, federal agencies force Real ID rules boarding all domestic commercial flights entering any federal facility like a nuclear power plant or a military base. Non-compliant IDs will not be allowed. You will have to have a full ID with a biometric match. You've gone to the airport recently? See how, like, there's not even somebody to swipe your ID anymore? They actually just scan your face? That's your Real ID is. Now, we could have we could bring Alex Jones on and have a totally different conversation about what that is and the mark of the beast and, you know, so on and so forth. And obviously, all of the scary implications of that. But what does this simple data point tell you? Well, if 90% of Americans have flown commercial, that means at least 90% of Americans have a Real ID, which, by the way, is a lot harder to fly and get through TSA than it is to cast a ballot. You know that. Most of you in this audience have flown, and most of you have cast a ballot. Which is easier, to get onto a commercial flight? Which is less intrusive, to get onto a commercial flight or cast a ballot? The arguments are so obscene here. So you're talking 320 million Americans have ID enough to get on a commercial plane and fly, but not enough to vote. The argument falls apart the moment you look at the data. The only thing that they are protecting here is illegal and criminal alien voting. That's it. It's the only explanation. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the saboteurs in our ranks. And we have Shawn Davis, who's going to hop on the show here in just a moment. But I want to play you one very quick thing from John Thune to set up Shawn. John Thune, yesterday, griped, bitched, and moaned that he doesn't have the votes in order to get the SAVE Act passed. He's lying. He's saying what he really needs to say here is he doesn't have the will, he doesn't have the desire to get the SAVE Act passed because he wants to protect the rhinos who are standing at his left and right. He wants to protect rhino corporate establishment Republicans. We warned you about John Thune. We warned you the moment they were having this leadership race. We told you what was about to happen. And ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Listen to this.
Do you run a risk of being on the wrong side of President Trump in your resistance to do this talking filibuster, tying the Senate in knots for weeks?
We don't have the votes either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on it. But that is just a function of math, and there isn't anything I can do about that. I mean, I understand the president's got to.
You're the Senate leader.
Issue addressed, as we all do.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him, but we will continue to make that argument because I think it's important that everybody understand that this really is about. It's about the votes. It's about the math, and I'm for better or worse, I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here, and so we'll continue to convey that. And I think that we're going to have a fight on the floor. We're going to vote on this. We're going to put it up, and we'll give the Democrats the opportunity to cast their vote on whether or not they think non-citizens ought to vote in American elections. And so that debate will happen. But like I said, I can guarantee the debate. I can guarantee a vote. I just can't guarantee an outcome.
John Thune doesn't have the vote. John Thune has 53 Republicans. John Thune has 50 Republicans that will vote to pass the SAVE Act. That's confirmed. John Thune doesn't have the will to actually do what is necessary to bring up the talking filibuster in order to make them speak. Here's an update from our friend Senator Lee, and then we'll have Shawn Davis live on the program with his reporting on exactly what's truly going on here. So Senator Lee responded to John Thune. Listen to this.
All right, so we're one step closer now to getting the Save America Act on the Senate floor. How exactly that's going to happen? Well, we're still working on that. There's a lot of uncertainty and some concern, but we're working on it. The important point right now is for us to refocus our energy on making sure we get the best arguments we can possibly put forward on this bill. Now, look, I still believe that very best shot we've got at doing this is invoking the talking filibuster. Make Democrats stand up, get recognized, and speak. If they want to filibuster the bill, don't give it to them for free. Don't let them have the benefits of the filibuster while they're napping or on vacation or whatever else it is that they do. Make them actually show up and speak. I'm going to continue to argue for that. I mean, regardless of what Senate Republican leadership thinks, I'm not going to back away from the fact that I think that is the best possible chance of passing this bill, perhaps the only way. But regardless, we got to be prepared for what it is that happens when it gets to the floor. So let's continue to advance the arguments for the bill itself and for the strategy that we think is best. If not us, who? If not now, when? We've got an 85-15 issue that is also critical to preserving the integrity of our elections. Let's get this done. Don't slow down. Let's redouble our efforts. This thing is hitting the floor likely in less than a week. Let's make it happen.
What's going to happen when it hits the floor? Shawn Davis says what's going to happen is the greatest betrayal of the MAGA and America First base and the American people. And let's say if 85% of the American people support this, then that's 300 million Americans. So 300 million Americans, not just Trump voters, 300 million Americans, is going to happen before our eyes. It's going to be brought to you by John Thune, who is right now actively sabotaging this and protecting the single worst members of his caucus, the Rhinos, whom John Thune, of course, owes his majority position to. Mitch McConnell is still currently running the Senate. It's a zombie Senate. It's a ghost Senate run by some of the worst people to ever disgrace Washington, and Shawn Davis is here to break it all down. Let's go. Shawn, I was just absolutely enraged. I was looking out at the landscape this morning and noticing something pretty alarming, which is that that Mitch McConnell is still in charge of the Senate. In spite of everything, in spite of all that we've done, in spite of bullets being shot at Trump's head, all this, the movement that we've suffered and people have actually died for, Mitch McConnell is still in charge. Now, can't walk. Plenty of videos of him literally collapsing throughout the Senate, being pushed around in a wheelchair, but he's still running things. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that this Democrat zombie filibuster is allowed to continue because a zombie senator like McConnell wants it to continue. I sometimes wonder maybe Mitch McConnell doesn't like the talking or the standing filibuster because he can't talk or stand anymore. I don't know.
So can you explain to me why John Thune is avoiding the play like Ebola or like a proper plague, a simple majority vote? Why is John Thune doing that? I thought that John Thune had 50 votes on this.
Yeah, so we're actually getting a front row seat to a wonderful show that I like to call failure theater. It's been put on for years by Republicans. And the way it works is this. They don't actually want to pass something. They don't really care what their own voters want. They care about delivering for K Street. So in this case, what they don't have the votes for is voter ID, voter security, election integrity. But they want to get credit for it. And the way they do that is they always set up these 60 vote thresholds. And those are great because you don't have 60 Republican senators, so they know it won't pass because remember, they don't want it to pass. But it allows them, knowing that it's going to fail, to set up failure votes, which is what Thune wants to do. Thune does not want a majority vote because he doesn't have, regardless of the 50 co-sponsors on this, he doesn't have 50 votes. So what he wants to do is set up a 60 vote threshold, knowing it will fail, so he can get every Republican or nearly every Republican on board. See, Mitch McConnell will go on a 60 vote threshold and he'll vote for it because then he can go back and say, well, of course I supported it. John Curtis will go and vote for that. But the second you make it a simple majority, which is all you actually need to proceed to the bill to get on a talking filibuster, at that point, you are exposing the most left wing, the most Rhino members of the party. And that's actually who John Cornyn and John Thune are wanting to protect. They're not trying to protect elections. They're trying to protect the worst members of their own party for any accountability for what they actually believe.
So could you please help me out with understanding some of the mechanisms of the Senate? I know this is like a dangerous parliamentarian deep dive that most people, their eyes glaze over, but it's critical here. John Thune is making a choice. He could just do a simple majority in order to bring the question to the floor. and to begin the talking filibuster. He could do that today. He could do that this minute. Is that correct?
That's correct. So there's generally kind of two hurdles when you want to move to a bill. You first have to move to proceed to it. That motion is generally debatable, which means it takes 60 votes. And then once you get on the bill, you actually, the bill itself is debatable. So then you have another 60 vote threshold. So in general, on normal bills, it's 60 votes to get to the bill and then 60 votes to get off. But because the House has already passed an S bill, which is a bill that originated in the Senate, has already passed that, put the Save America Act on it, and sent it to the House via what's called a message. Messages from the House are privileged, which means in order to proceed to them, that motion to proceed is not debatable. It's a 50 vote threshold. It's a simple majority threshold. So when Thune says, well, I don't even have the votes to even proceed to it, he's either being dishonest and hoping people will not understand the process, or he's being extremely honest and confessing that he actually doesn't have a majority of his own party who will proceed to a bill to protect our elections. And so to me, the real signal of what's happening is John Thune going to do that message to the House, which is a majority vote, or is he going to set up a fake vote from a new bill so that he can architect a fake 60 vote obstacle to protect those 3 or 4 or 5 Republicans like McConnell who just don't want to vote to move to it?
So 2.5 weeks ago, Susan Collins officially said that I will be the 50th support vote for this. Or were they lying effectively in that? It was celebrated by Mike Lee, it was celebrated by quite a few people who said that they could get this done now. Someone's lying, Shawn, and I hate news cycles like this. I don't serve in the Senate, and neither do you, but our friends like Mike Lee and Mark Wayne Mullen have told me that they do have 50. They do have a simple majority to vote at the very least to get it on the floor. So is John Thune lying or is Mike Lee lying? Who's lying?
No, Mike Lee is definitely not lying. There's 50 co-sponsors of the Save America Act. But the thing is, co-sponsoring a bill is very, very different than actually voting for it when it gets to the floor, voting for a particular procedural maneuver. So yeah, the bill itself has 50 co-sponsors, but the real rub is how many people are going to vote to move to that by simple majority, to move to that message from the House. And that's the entire game right now. I think Thune is correct that he doesn't have a majority because he's actually not a leader. When he goes out and says, well, I don't have the votes, he's acting like a passive scheduler. Yes. Leaders whip. Leaders bring people in. If we wanted a scheduler, why not just have a robot be leader? What is the point of him?
You can see it in like his you can tell, right, in his speech and his cadence as he's describing this. He has absolutely no authority and he has no conviction about this at all. Well, he just mumbles through it. We'll see if Democrats want to have illegals vote in our election. Like, that's not the way that the American people think. The American people think that every single time a Guatemalan gang rapist votes, it cancels out my vote. And it deletes my heritage in this nation and my value here. And so, like, this is existential to the base. It's clearly not existential to John Thune. Why is that, Shawn? What is that?
Well, yeah, it's fascinating to watch that speech. I'm glad you played so much of it because he cribbed heavily from what friends of mine and I called the swamp glossary. There's certain key words that they just kind of default to when they're in trouble, but they don't really want to tell the truth. The first one is, oh, it's just math. It's just math, Benny. What can I do about the math? Gee, I don't know what a majority leader can do. The next one is, oh, well, we have to be clear-eyed. We just have to be the adults in the room, as if Donald Trump isn't clear-eyed, as if Donald Trump is not an adult in the room. It's so dishonest. I wish they would just be honest and come out and say, look, guys, I know you care about voter integrity. We don't really. We want to move to permitting reform. We have the K Street guys who are funding our campaigns and hiring our staff and putting us on corporate boards when we're done. They really need to move to this like corporate tax welfare bill. Can you just stop demanding things like, I don't know, safe elections so we can get back to the business of making money as members of Congress? It's just so disgusting. We expect it from the left. That's what they do. One reason I think it's so disheartening now is that we don't expect it from the right. We don't expect it from Republicans. And yet time and time again, They demand the trifecta. They demand the White House, the House, and the Senate. Well, we can't do anything without all those three. And then as soon as they have all those three, it's nothing but a bunch of excuses about why they can't do what they told us they were going to do for a decade.
Could you give me some type of landscape breakdown as to what would be the real argument against voter ID from a Republican standpoint? I mean, obviously, we've gone through and detailed. We just put up like 50 DOJ indictments for illegal voting. It happens all the time. Why don't you pop up the heritage map? You can see that there are tens of thousands of cases of illegal voting throughout the country. And this is something that, like, not only is non-controversial, it's something that we probably undercount by the millions, I would assume. And it's so prevalent, in fact, that right there in Michigan, one of the cases was a Chinese student who voted for Kamala Harris and then was effectively smuggled out of the country like it was a military operation. You know, that's how illegal, criminal, and at scale the cheating is in our elections. So we are aware that Democrats are engaging on a state, like truly on a state level in mass scale cheating. That's obvious. What is the Republic? Get me in the mind of Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, John Curtis, and Lisa Murkowski. What is it? Is it that they think that their seats will be nuked if only Republicans and American citizens can vote? Like, what's the motivation there, Shawn? Sorry for the long question.
Lisa Murkowski is a Democrat, so that's easy. A Democrat, by the way, who kept her seat because Mitch McConnell went out of his way to keep her seniority, even when she left the party after losing a primary. But Murkowski's a Democrat, so that's why she opposes it. Susan Collins, she's from Maine. Maine's weird. I can almost just spot her. Like, okay, Susan, you've got tough reelects all the time. It's not popular there. Your state's getting overrun by Somalis, whatever. The other guys, McConnell, Curtis, I don't think that it's actually that they oppose voter ID. It's that they oppose having to work to implement it. And it comes down to what they view the Senate as. To Mitch McConnell, the Senate is his means of protecting his own power. He goes out and raises a ton of money. He's able to go and browbeat corporations into donating to his PAC. That's how he gets power in the Senate. And if he has to spend his time in the U.S. Senate, if he has to spend 2 months exhausting a Democrat filibuster in order to pass something that the American people want, that is not worth it to him, because it takes 2 months away from delivering for his actual constituents, which are corporate lobbyists on K Street.
And living in D.C. for 15 years, there was nobody that understood that system better than the McConnell mafia. And that mafia, people would go and work for McConnell, and then he would immediately, you'd only work for McConnell for 2 years before he'd place you in some lobby shop, some K Street shop, some big time consultancy or corporate board. And that's how the guy maintained power for so long, being so unbelievably unpopular. And it's grotesque. It's still in operation. I mean, that mechanism, that system is still in operation. And you should never be able to work again in Washington if you have Mitch McConnell on your resume. It's just that criminal and grotesque. It's truly the worst I've ever seen.
It is. And it's fascinating to see the difference between Thune and McConnell. McConnell is very, very smart, utterly vicious, very good at what he does. But he's kind of been out of it with all his health issues. So he installed his boy, John Thune, who looks great on camera, but isn't all that bright. He just doesn't have the viciousness and the smarts that he needs to do this job. Had Mitch McConnell been leader, truly on the floor every day, he would have nuked the Save America Act from orbit months ago and never would have allowed it to get this kind of momentum. But John Thune just isn't very good at it. So he's just been floundering for months, like a fish who's been thrown out of the bowl and is gasping for water. And so now he's trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, but he just can't do it. I for one, it's depressing watching how little our leaders actually care about what voters want. But in another sense, it's kind of just amusing to watch how bad he is at the job.
What happens next? And do you think that Thune's just going to bring up a new question, new bill, to hope that the American people just sort of gloss it over and we don't understand parliamentary procedure and just shuffle it away? Do you assume that's going to happen? Do you have any indications that we will actually get ourselves to a talking filibuster? It seems like that's the only path forward, right? I mean, am I judging the landscape correctly here? Because you're not going to be, even if you get 53 Republicans, you're not going to get 7 Democrats. It's just no way. Like, everyone's like, John Fetterman. Okay, you get 54. You're not going to get 60, right? Like, that ain't working.
The only way this passes is if we were able to actually get on the bill and Democrats are forced to control and maintain the floor for day after day, week after week, maybe after month, until they exhaust the speeches that they're allowed under the rules. And then at that point, the question of whether to pass or not just naturally arises in the Senate. You don't have to end debate, which is what cloture does, anymore. So I think that's the only way it passes. I don't think Thune is going to do that. It's still up in the air. I mean, he's clearly still trying to waffle and figure out a way through this without being blamed for doing nothing. I suspect that he's going to bring up a new Senate bill, move to proceed to it. Democrats will filibuster. He'll let him do it for a day or two, and then he'll file cloture. It'll get 51 votes, not the 60. And he'll say, oh, gosh, guys, we tried. Oh, well, on to permitting reform. And that'll be it.
On to funding, on to $500 trillion more dollars for war in Iran, right? Like, that's exactly what'll happen. That's like that's exactly what's going to happen. Oh, man. And then that'll get 95 senators on board. How existential?
Not 98.
Yeah. How existential is this, Sean? I'm not a doomer, but it's pretty obvious. It's pretty transparent what's going to happen when Democrats take back the Senate. It's like plainly obvious, and they're going to get the House and the Senate. Eventually, or I'm not sure if it'll happen in 2026. It's pretty scary out there, but like, I'm not sure it'll happen in 2026. It'll eventually happen. Well, like, what happens then, Sean? Like, what's the first thing they're going to do?
Nothing good. So if they have the votes to eliminate the filibuster, I suspect they'll need 52, maybe 53. I see Fetterman having some issues with nuking the filibuster. They don't have the White House yet, so they can't do it with 50. They'd need 51. I assume they'll actually need about 52 senators. The first thing they're doing, if they have the votes, is abolishing the filibuster right out of the gate. And then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to pack the court. They're going to bring in D.C. and Puerto Rico as states. They know that's going to guarantee them probably 4 extra Senate seats for Democrats forever. And at that point, it's just a question of how long we can hold on before they utterly destroy the franchise. So I do think it's existential. You cannot have a free country without free and secure elections. And yet that's the one thing the left refuses to allow us to have, because they need to be able to cheat. So we all know it. They're honest about it. They're out there saying, well, we can't have you having ICE people at the polls. Well, why on earth would they be afraid about having Border Patrol at the polls unless they're bringing a bunch of illegals to the polls? We all know what they're doing.
We all know what they're doing. It's like, it's so plainly obvious. It would be really nice to, for once, for Republicans to say, like, no, fight for this. Like make the argument for the American people. Make it like they're on the 20% side of every single issue. Transing the kids, voter ID, opening the border, criminal alien gang warfare on our territory. Like they're on the wrong side of every single issue. But Republicans never force the actual question. They never force the actual fight. Never force the debate. Because if the debate was actually had, then you'd have nothing but, like, if you want your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Like, the whole thing would be just farcical. But I don't know, man. Like, and I'll give you the last word on this. But like, my black pill on all this is I've watched how it happens in D.C. I've watched exactly how chummy these people are. They don't want to go to work on the Senate floor because it would reveal a farcity, which is that they're all actually friends. It's just one big club. It is actually a swamp, and they love being in business together. Democrats, Republicans, cats sleeping with dogs. They all don't want to, like, lose their golf and tea time together because they're all, like, secretly friends behind the scenes, and it's one giant pool of corruption. They're all getting filthy rich together, and to force this like on the floor would mean that they'd have to do something that's unnatural, which would be like actually fight each other. They actually secretly love each other because it's just one big party, and I think that's ultimately the friction. That's what I've observed in D.C. Your last take on this, Sean?
I think that's exactly right, especially among Republicans. The Uniparty is real. Their friends are not their voters. Their interests are not those of their constituents. And look, I'm a simple man. I don't ask for a lot. What I would love to see, and maybe this is crazy, is a Republican Party that represents its voters and fights for them as hard as the Democratic Party does for theirs. The Democrats do not care if they are on the 10% end of a 90-10 issue. If they have 50.1% of the power, they will get 100% of what they want. They will be merciless about it. You saw this with Pelosi and Obamacare. Said, I don't care if we lose. It's going to remake the country forever in ways that are helpful to us as a party. And so I'm going to do it, and we'll just deal with it. Man, I wish Republicans had that sort of fight in them. Yes. But alas, it doesn't appear they do. And by the way, it's why if they don't change anything in the next couple months, they're going to get their butts kicked in November.
Yep. It's true. So we're warning against it. We're doing everything. We're using every tool we possibly can to warn against it, and to say this is it. I mean, if you can't deliver on this, then no one will ever want to vote for a Republican ever again. No one will ever want to vote for a Republican senator, certainly ever again. To their great credit, I guess. Like, the House actually did pass this like a couple times, and with a razor thin majority was able to get this over the finish line. And so it is truly the Senate, and why exactly? I guess we are going to lose. I guess Murkowski and McConnell, right? You won't have to deal with them ever again. So generationally, Democrats are just using this like point of extreme weakness for Republicans against us. It's so enraging to be. It's so enraging to be outplayed time and time again. Shawn, thank you. Shawn's viral thread on this subject, you should repost it and read it. It's right here. 1.2 million Americans have seen it, 12,000 reposts and 32,000 likes. You should also follow Shawn, obviously, and read The Federalist. He is the CEO and co-founder, critical and important investigative journalism and commentary every single day. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, dude. See ya. Doesn't that make you angry? Doesn't it just get your blood boiling? Honestly, like, it's like how easy it would be if we just had elected officials who believed what they told all of us when they went on TV, when they go out on the campaign trail. I started with this John Cornyn bit about nuking the filibuster because I'm like, maybe you can have a generational change here. You know, maybe there is a moment where like the old just kind of melts away and you're going to give way to the new, which is, of course, Mike Lee and the fight. Ladies and gentlemen, fight for the future of this country. You don't have a future of the country without new children. I want more Americans in this country. That's why we partner with Preborn. Preborn's an awesome and powerful organization that helps mothers see their child with the miracle of technology. I mean, ultrasounds, especially really detailed ultrasounds, are very new and remarkable, miracle level technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, Preborn Network clinics give free ultrasounds as a counter to the abortion industry. It's compassion without pressure, clarity about the life growing inside of the mother, real support to welcome the baby, and the home and hope of the gospel. These free ultrasounds give women space to breathe and to understand what's actually happening, right? And see the miracle of life up close. More than 80% of the time when a mother sees her baby on a preborn ultrasound, she chooses life. So, ladies and gentlemen, Preborn needs 124 partners saying yes every single day. Will you be one of them? For just $28, you can provide an ultrasound. $140 helps 5 mothers. Every single dollar helps save babies and share hope. So donate today. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound at 250. Say the keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Benny. That's preborn.com/Benny. Okay. Off the top, just a reminder to keep your head on a swivel here. This morning, a van smashed into the White House. This smashed directly into a White House gate. These are hard to reach gates. And so this van must have, yeah, there you go. perfect right off the top here. It smashed in the White House gates. It went around multiple road closures. So this was obviously not somebody who fell asleep at the wheel. You can't fall asleep at the wheel and just smash into White House gate. You have to be actively trying to attack the White House. So that's what's going on here. The driver of the van was detained and is being questioned by U.S. Secret Service. This happened at 6:30 this morning. No injuries reported. The van drove through a barricade on Connecticut Avenue. The Metropolitan Police Department said the incident comes amid a wave of attacks on U.S. soil since the war in Iran. Two alleged ISIS terrorists hurled improvised explosive devices in New York. There was also an Islamist who opened fire in Texas. Yesterday, the U.S. consulate in Canada got shot up. So truly dangerous times. Imagine what happens when we give these ISIS members the right to vote. Or when they just take it because there's no voter ID. What we need to do is we need to go and do another version of what we did in Georgia. In 2022, in Georgia, there was a big push to stop a election security bill. And what that election security bill did was, in a microcosm, demand voter ID in Georgia. Right now, you have to show an ID in Georgia to vote. It didn't used to be that way. In 2022, Georgia Republicans, and there's like a supermajority of Republicans in the Georgia House and Senate. Allegedly, there's a Republican governor in Georgia too. You would never know it. But that majority was on the precipice of passing a voter ID law. And everybody said that it would be racist. They use the same talking points that they're using right now, Jim Crow 2.0. Even though the vast preponderance of blacks and Hispanics and everybody in America supports voter ID. So I went to Atlanta and I asked, well, black people, whether voter ID is racist. Like specifically went up to black people, homeless black people, and said, is it racist for me to ask you to get an ID? Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of my all-time favorite projects that we ever did. We should probably just do another one of these, right? I guess we'll see where the SAVE Act goes. And we'll see where the national conversation goes. But the Democrats are using the exact same talking points that they were using in 2022. It's why it's good to have been in this game for a long time, because you actually are able to figure out what their strategies are. I did this with in partnership with Turning Point USA. Let's go ahead and talk to some black voters in Georgia, please.
Look at that, John. Because people are saying now that requiring an ID to vote. Look at this, John. Look at this.
I have an ID.
Look at this, man.
I got a food stamp card. Bam!
ID, food can.
John, we're gonna blur out all the personal information, but look at this. Amazing. What was your name?
Hustle Man.
Hustle
looking
Man.
at it.
Hustle Man.
No count.
It says Hustle Man on the ID, John.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Ain't number one.
Number one Hustle Man on the state-issued government ID.
Tell me what you need, and I'll be right back. I'm coming right back. Like I never left. Make me famous, Amos.
And now it's time for
This Kid Racist!
My question for you today, sir, is do you have an ID?
Do I have an ID? Yes, I do.
Have you ever been asked for your ID? Do you ask people for their IDs? You probably do all the time, right?
All the time. I get asked for my IDs by Georgia State police officers and APD. Right. Anybody that asks me about an ID, just check to see if we are who we are. I don't think it's racist or prejudice against people that ask about ID.
Cheese.
I can't believe it.
And a Waffle.
I heard that no one in Georgia has an ID.
Well, first one, cheese.
Ladies, I want my money.
John, she has an ID and she wants her money.
Pay me my money.
And I live under the bridge.
And she wants her money. That's right. And she lives under the bridge. Have a good day, man. She lives under the bridge. She has an ID and she wants her money. Does she want to vote? Because she can. Because she has an ID, John.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
This is an official parking machine in Atlanta. The Atlanta city government put this up, and guess what you need to park here? A credit card. A credit card, something you can't get without an ID. I feel attacked.
Okay, so you get it. Like, homeless people have IDs in Georgia. The whole thing is you can't defend it. it's indefensible. Their arguments are indefensible. Man, so glad I started working out, by the way. Stop drinking. Let this be a message to all of you. Like please, just, if you're a young person, having a family, being outdoors, running around with your kids, and not wanting to be hungover, it's very good for you. It's very good for the soul. It's good for your clarity. It's good for who you are as a person. You'll be a healthier, better version of you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to do our 2026 version of that. That video is almost 4 years old. It's a lot of fun to make. Nonetheless, it's something that I guess time is a flat circle. You can go make that same video again today, probably even more hilarious. Right now, just go ask black people, like, Senate Democrats say that you're not smart enough to get an ID, right? Again, we've proven it time and time again. This is something, we've proven it time and time again. This is something that the data forces. So how many Americans have bought a bottle of alcohol or ordered a beer? How many Americans have flown on a plane? How many Americans have driven a car? You're talking about north of 90% for every single one of those numbers. That means that over 90% of Americans have a functional ID. It is very complicated and requires a lot of security to get on board a flight. Nonetheless, 90% of Americans have gotten on board a flight. The whole argument falls to pieces. The moment you start asking questions, they just want to cheat. They just want to cheat, and they're using Republicans, the weak Republicans who are all losing their Murkowski and McConnell will never have to say their names ever again. After 2026, we'll never have to say their names again. Is that correct with Murkowski? ALX? I know it is with McConnell. Am I remembering this correctly? Murkowski's up? Is Murkowski up? ALX? We'll see. Yeah, we'll never have to say their names again. They're using this historic opportunity with historic weakness with Republicans, and in stealing of a Senate seat in Wisconsin, which I believe without doubt they did. Tammy Baldwin and Eric Hove. They're using this opportunity in order to clown us. We shouldn't let them. She's running again in 2028. Goodness gracious. She's running again in 2028. Oh, we have to fix that. We have to, but Alaska's ending ranked choice voting, right? Okay, so you saw a fatter, more unhealthy, more hungover version of me there in Georgia. You want to be the healthiest version of yourself. Van Man can help you do it. Van Man, it's an awesome brand. I actually have, I'll show you. You talk all day. Sometimes you get it's in Tampa, right? You get chapped lips. I got Van Man chapstick actually right here in the studio. I use it every single day. Van Man right there. Bam. Awesome. Awesome company. Just straight up the opposite of a mega corporation, private equity firms that hijack beloved brands and fill them with corporate slop. You've seen this time and time again. Van Man is doing things differently. They're credited with starting the entire beef tallow trend. Driving into work today, I saw a beef tallow fries advertisement for a major fast food brand. Van Man was on it years ago. Grass-fed beef tallow moisturizers, right here. They've been crushing it ever since. With hit after hit of clean, nearly edible solutions for every single day products. Beef tallow balm is the moisturizer that I use. Replace the chapstick brand that I was using. They also have a number of other incredible products for your skin, make you feel good. They have gum. It's an awesome brand. None of their products are filled with the kind of chemicals that can really do damage to you. It is 100% organic, something that means a lot to, obviously, your longevity and the way that you feel every single day. So ditch the corporate chemicals. Go to vanman.com/Benny and use the code Benny for 15% off your first order. That's vanman.com/Benny and use the code Benny for 15% off your order. Van Man, real ingredients, no exceptions. Okay. It looks like we're actually potentially getting a raid on one of the Epstein properties. Quite interesting here. Cops swarm Zorro Ranch. Search for bodies of 2 girls strangled during rough sex session amid human experimentation claims. Yo, okay. Let's go ahead and read, and then ALX, let's please also put up the claims themselves from the DOJ. I want to see the emails. Here we go. Sad story. At least 2 girls killed during rough sex sessions at Jeffrey Epstein's remote New Mexico ranch, closer to being told following a massive police swoop on the 7,500-acre property. For years, the deaths has swirled around Zorro Ranch, a teeny town, in Stanley, 30 miles south of the state capital in Santa Fe. The identities of the girls have never been known. Now law enforcement is confident that it can find the bodies if they exist, but names the dead girls. Agents, the Department of Justice, along with police, the local sheriff's office, started a search of the ranch. This would require them to have a search warrant. The ranch is privately owned right now by a big-time Trump supporter. There's no connection. It's not like he built it. It's just property that he owns. Was built by the former governor of New Mexico. New Mexico, of course, a deep blue state, very corrupt state. As soon as Jeffrey Epstein got out of prison for his first underage sex charge, he won the New Mexico state lottery. That's the first thing that happened. He won $80 million in the New Mexico state lottery. What does that tell you about how rigged the system is? He's living in the governor's ranch. Zorro Ranch was built by the New Mexico governor. He sells it to Jeffrey Epstein. And then as soon as Jeffrey Epstein gets out of jail for predator charges, should have been in jail for the rest of his life, New Mexico just hands him all the lottery winnings. What does that mean? How rigged is this system? Investigation is running parallel to the Truth Commission that was unanimously set up by lawmakers to find out exactly what went on at Zorro Ranch. So now police are swarming the ranch. We have heard years of allegations and rumors of Epstein's activity in New Mexico. Unfortunately, federal investigations have failed to put together the official record. So now they're establishing a full commission. Good. Find out as much as we possibly can. Caroline Levit yesterday on the Save America Act. I wanted to get to this because President Trump has been on an absolute rampage over all of this. President Trump has posted something like 20 times about the Save America Act. Never seen President Trump post like this before. Shawn Davis thinks President Trump is a paid political influencer. Yes, this is ALX here with the banger. I just asked Thune if he feels pressure to pass the Save America Act, and he says a lot of it is paid influencer ecosystem. Grotesque. Donald Trump here banging on about the Save America Act time and time and time again. Trump posts, I think, once a day about the Save America Act. This should have been the number one priority for Republicans. We always do this to ourselves. We always sort of muddle things down, like the big beautiful bill and stuff. They were able to get that passed, but nobody really can tell you what's inside of it. Nobody can really show you the benefits of it. I'm sure they're out there, they're esoteric, but they're not wins for the base. They're not wins for the actual party itself, the people that delivered you. This should have been the first priority. This should have been the first and only priority for Republicans. Should have made it completely bloody clear that we are going to save the American voter rolls by forcing voter ID. President Trump saying here. Thanking Scott Pressler and then saying, do the talking filibuster in order to pass the Save America Act. That means actually show up to work. 88% issue with all voters. It has to be done immediately. Supersedes everything else. It must go on the front line. I, as president, will not sign other bills until this is passed. And not the watered-down version, go for the gold, show voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots except for military, illness, disability, or travel, no men and women's sports, no transgender mutilation of children. This is what the base wants. This is what the base has always wanted. Now I guess we're getting raids in Maricopa and we're getting raids in Fulton. Made a ton of news yesterday with John Solomon. This clip, just checking in with my producers here. It's like impossible here to see. I'm checking in to see where if we're able to get to the senator or not today. I know there's a lot going on. Senator Tubberville is supposed to be on the show, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Yesterday we made a ton of news with John Solomon on ALX. You have that clip. John Solomon says that there's going to be a story that drops in the coming days that will change everything. Change all of the, yes, the Solomon clip that I want, will change all of the calculation on the SAVE Act and will force senators in order to not only see the problems that a insecure election system has, but might well cause Democrats to flip and to vote for the Save America Act. We'll pray that he's right. Here's what he had to say yesterday. Your take on Maricopa County. You're saying that what's going to happen is we're going to find out the Chinese had a major heavy hand in rigging election. What's your take on the raid yesterday in Maricopa?
Yeah, it wasn't really a raid. It was a grand jury subpoena, but they grabbed the stuff. There will be some search warrants executed in the coming days based on my reporting. They're looking at, in Maricopa County, it's a very technical thing, just like it was in Georgia. Did you follow state law? Because if you didn't administer a federal election as it was supposed to be under state law, you can be charged federally. It's just about doing the right thing and following the law. But above that, not in Maricopa County, not in Fulton County, there is an extraordinary review going on by the CIA director, the FBI director, the director of national intelligence, so Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, and Kash Patel. They have found a body of documents that I think will trouble all of us and probably will have a profound effect on the Senate debate over the Save America Act. A lot of senators are sitting up there saying, I don't know if I need to vote for this. I don't know what the politics is. Wait a second. When they find out that maybe voter identities in their state databases were penetrated by China and used in influence operations, that may change their mind. And so I think the debate in the Senate could be informed by what comes out in the next few weeks.
Oh, fascinating. Oh, that's so interesting. So he says, we had a follow-up question there, but that he says that there's going to be news that breaks. And he followed up by talking about how, and talking about exactly this issue right here, the issue of the Chinese student that voted in Michigan. There's like a confirmed case of Chinese communists rigging our election. This is a Chinese student that voted in Michigan illegally. I'm going to give you just one guess as to who he voted for in 2024. Who would the Communist Party of China want to lead America, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? We'll look at the landscape of what's happening right now. It's pretty obvious. This Chinese student then, Alex, I want confirmation on this. I want you to grab the article. Maybe it's here in the DOJ filings. This Chinese student was charged with voting illegally. They voted just with a student ID because they don't have voter ID in Michigan. You just use their student ID to vote. Their ballot gets cast, it gets counted, and then so it cancels out a legitimate Trump vote. The student is informed they committed a crime. The student is then held on a detainer. They're a foreigner here. They voted in our elections. And then the Chinese national was smuggled out of the country before they were able to get a criminal complaint inside of a court. They used a fake visa and passport because we apprehended this individual and took their passport, used a fake passport that was smuggled, a fake visa and passport by some member of the Chinese Communist Party. It's like a total Mission Impossible espionage op. And they smuggled the student out of the nation for voting illegally because we caught them. How many Chinese students didn't we catch? Well, you'll recall that we found thousands of fake driver's license being smuggled across the border. This was found in 2024. Border agents and the FBI under Joe Biden, so they certainly weren't looking for this, sort of accidentally stumble ass backwards into finding thousands and thousands of fake Chinese driver's licenses. Those fake Chinese driver's licenses then are given to Chinese students. How many Chinese students study in the country right now? Let's go ahead and ask. How many Chinese students are in the country? It's thinking. There are 400,000 Chinese students right now in the nation. 400,000. Total number of international students, 1.2 million. It's been as high as 1.7 million over the last 20 years. Well, you could put those students in swing states and rig elections. These elections are only decided by like 10,000 votes. You can completely rig elections with this op. You could change the election completely. You just have the Chinese student vote. 300,000 Chinese votes could swing you multiple swing states. It could deliver for you Arizona, for instance. The margins in some of these states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, 300,000 extra votes. I'm not saying every Chinese student here votes illegally, but if that's what the op is, then that's obvious. This is what Democrats are protecting. That and voting at toilets. That and the 30 people that I found registered at a California toilet. So it is happening. It is real. You have been psyoped, probably the biggest psyop since COVID. Democrats saying there's no such thing as illegal voting. Democrats now have changed their tune on that and saying there's not a lot of illegal voting. And so now is the time to win. Now is the time to push. And now is also the time to call out the traitors in our own party. So, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump saying deliver the gold standard. Go for the gold with the SAVE Act. Deliver the full bill, not the watered-down version. Full voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots except for military, illness, disability, or travel, and no men in women's sports. And just a quick reminder, do we have the Tulsi commentary on the voting machines? Just an important reminder that they've already found the flaws in the system. Tulsi told the president a couple of months ago, we've already been able to prove that these voter systems are completely rigged. We caught them. Donald Trump went to the World Economic Forum and said people will be prosecuted. We've caught them. We caught them dead to rights. Here's what Caroline Levit said yesterday at the White House press conference about the Save America Act.
Media. Let me be very clear. The Save America Act does not prohibit anyone from voting with the exception of illegal aliens. And the greatest way to disenfranchise American citizens from voting in American elections is to allow illegal aliens to vote, which is what Democrats want to do. We see it taking place in Democrat jurisdictions at the state and local level across this country. So the Save America Act corrects that. And as far as married women who have changed their name, if they're already registered to vote, they're entirely unaffected by the Save Act. And for the small fraction of individuals who have changed their name or their address, they can still register to vote. Of course, they just have to go through their state processes to update that documentation. And this is something that the American people, married women and minorities and people all across this country who Democrats are insultingly saying cannot do this, they're already doing it every day, going to the Social Security office, going to the DMV. And I think it's frankly insulting that the Democrats are saying that there are certain groups of people in this country who aren't smart enough to update their documentation to allow them to vote. Again, this is a huge myth, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to address it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking Alex what this means. We do have Senator Tubberville set and ready to go. Breaking news, Donald Trump has just posted a text message from Mike Lee with no context. Okay, let's go ahead and look. President Trump posting a text message from Mike Lee. The Supreme Court really messed this up badly. That's it. No context, just the screenshot. All right. We're going to have Mike on. Mike Lee is doing markups today on the Save America Act. So maybe we'll have to we'll do an emergency broadcast tomorrow with Mike Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who is absolutely going to pull out all stops and fight with his dying breath. Hope it doesn't come to that. But it seems like it. A do or die moment for America is the great Tommy Tubberville, Alabama, who joins us live right now to talk the SAVE Act and what must happen next to save America. Here we go. Thank you, Senator. So glad that you could join us. And we're looking at this landscape and seeing how the Senate Republicans are going to try and, I think, weasel out of a simple majority vote here to bring up this privileged question. It seems like it would be a very simple mechanism. You just need the 50 people who've co-sponsored the bill. There are 50 co-sponsors to vote in favor of bringing the question to the floor. So why won't John Thune do that? Does he not have 50 votes? What's going on here?
Well, that's the big question, Benny. Does he have 50 votes? A lot of people will sponsor something and they won't vote for it. It's just very unfortunate, but we have to have it. And as you said, this is Save America Act. President Trump puts it very bluntly. If we don't get this done, we're going to lose our country, because we have about 15 states right now that are just absolutely out of control. They do what they want to. We'll never have any kind of majority of anything from city government all the way up to federal government in any of these 15 states unless we get some kind of voting regulations, because they break every law in the book and nobody's held accountable. And 77 million people, not Republicans, not Democrats, 77 million Americans voted for Donald Trump to change this country back to the direction that we all grew up in. But we have people in our party that they kind of hold on to the narrative of, I want to really make sure that my constituents want this. And in the future, and I'm leaving after this year, hopefully I'll be governor of Alabama, but in the future in this country, what we need to do is make sure that when we have people run for a Republican seat in the House or the Senate, we vet them and we know exactly what they are and who they are and what they represent before we elect them, because people change their stripes very quickly when they become elected leaders up here in the Senate and the House.
Yeah, so I want to get down into the nitty gritty here. And I'm no parliamentarian, but I've studied enough here and I know enough about the Senate to understand what's happening. With 50 co-sponsors, if John Thune just put it up for a simple majority vote, what he would be doing is exposing who in the Republican Party is against voter ID.
Exactly.
So what, is it critical as a Republican leader to expose that? Isn't that something critical? Wouldn't you want to exercise those people out of the party?
Exactly. We need to find out where everybody stands. Enough's enough. And we had meetings yesterday, caucus meetings, and we talked about this. It will be voted on next week. It will be put on the floor. We'll vote on it. There'll be some amendments on it. We're going to try to put in no men and women's sports and a couple of other things that'll go along with it President Trump wants in it. But at the end of the day, we have to take this bill and let the American people know where we all stand. And are we for fair elections? Or are we for just a free-for-all? Is what we've had over the last few elections. And I would hope that we could get 53 votes out of Republicans, because that's how many we have, but I don't think we can.
So, yes, but you say you'll put it up to vote. There's different ways to do the vote. If you did simply the privileged question, since it comes from the House, since it's a Senate bill that was kicked back from the House, all you need is a simple majority. All you need is 50 to then bring it to the floor, and then the Democrats would have to be forced to filibuster it.
Right. It'd be 51 votes. And of course, if we only get 50 votes, and JD can come over and vote for us. So we only need 50 Republicans in the Senate if it's the House version, which I think that's what we're going to put on the floor. Again, that's up to John Thune. But we need to do something. We need to show the American people where we're at in this tough time. We haven't done anything since the big, beautiful bill. We're voting on some kind of housing bill up here right now, but that doesn't make a hill of beans about anything. It's kind of busy work. We need to get something done for the American people. And, they're all calling me. When I go back to the state of Alabama, Benny, everybody's going, When's people going to go to jail? Didn't they break the law? Didn't they do this? And exactly right. But this is something we can show people we're getting something done one way or the other, if they pass or won't pass. So we're going to do it next week.
Okay, so there's going to be going to be a vote on the privilege question next week with just a simple majority vote. And do you think that's going to pass? Do you think the 50 co-sponsors? Susan Collins says she's in favor of it. She says so that's 50. So that's enough with JD then to actually get it up to a filibuster. Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think that Republicans won't even be able to vote in a majority?
I think if it's up to, as you said, we've got 4 or 5 that are on the fence. Senator McConnell, Tom Tillis, Susan Collins, Murkowski. I don't know where the Sullivan stands. John Curtis. But they're going to put if we put it out there, they're going to have to show their true colors when it comes to true voting in this country. And of course, we have people stand up all the time. So, we don't need to change this. We don't need to get involved in federal elections. Yes, we do, because this world has changed. We have 15 to 20 million illegals that Joe Biden let into this country.
Yes.
Now, you go back to what I said earlier, 77 million people voted for Trump. He took a lot of union votes. He took a lot of minority votes. And the only way the Democrats can survive now is getting these illegals to vote, because they are leaking oil really badly. And so we got to make sure that we hold our feet to the fire and no illegals vote. And they'll never win another election when it comes to the White House or probably even a majority. We have to do it the right way, because our country and times have changed. This is not the 1950s. This is 2026, and it is crucial that we get this Save America Act done.
So can you explain to me, as a senator, what kind of pressure is Mitch McConnell and Tom Tillis and these others, what kind of corporate or lobbying pressure are they under? Because it just seems like such a foundational and fundamental betrayal to the Republicans, no matter what shade of Republican you are, to the American people. Senator, in all due respect, you keep citing 77 million Trump voters, and while I agree with you there, the polling shows that it's more like 300 million Americans support this, because it's like an 85% issue. So it's not even just the Trump voters. It's like the vast preponderance of the country. 300 million Americans want this. What universe could a Republican be against that? What's going on behind the scenes? Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a lot behind the scenes, especially on the Save America Act, because I don't think there's really a lot of lobbying going on behind the scenes. I think some people look at this, and especially Leader McConnell, and he said this, he believes in the tradition of the Senate. He believes in the doing things that we used to do. And again, my thoughts are, listen, things change. Our country has changed in the last 10 years like you and I would never, ever believed of the things that people are trying to do. And so, as I said earlier, there's probably 12 to 15 states in this country. It's over. The true American capitalism cannot survive with those 15 people, 15 countries, states, the way they vote. And so we have to make sure that we make it legal for everybody's vote to count, number one. And none of these just mail out ballots all over the place, harvest balloting, any of that nonsense. We have to have a true election, because people in Alabama say, Coach, I want my damn vote to count. I want it to count. And, it's just unfortunate that a lot of people do not have a lot of confidence in how we do it today.
Can I get your guarantee? I called you the most honest man in the Senate. You've come on this program so many times, and you just spit bars, and you don't care what the headlines say about you. You're just going to tell the truth. Can I get your confirmation that you'll be part of this talking filibuster, that you'll do everything that you can do within your physical and mental capacity to ensure that Democrats are going to have to fight this for real on the floor if it really does come to that?
Yeah, if the talking filibuster, and again, we've discussed this at hours length with Mike Lee, a lot of people thinks it'll work and won't work. I don't know enough about it, and I've looked at it and read about it, and it's pretty complex. But if it would work, I promise you, I will be on the floor as long as it takes. If we can get it done that way, if we can help President Trump get this bill through, because as he said, nothing else matters. If we don't get the Save America Act, we can do all this other stuff that we want, but these communists are going to come in right behind us after they cheat in elections and change everything back. So that's the reason this is so important. And any way we can get it done, I am for it, Benny.
That's so wonderful to hear. And so people need to hear it. People need to hear that their votes actually do count. You know, you vote for something time and time again, Senator, and you never get it, and you get the same slop, and you get the same uniparty slop, and Republicans never get what they vote for. Democrats get Obamacare. Democrats get open borders. Republicans never get what we vote for. And it becomes demoralizing, frankly, because we keep giving trifectas to the GOP. You know, we can't get anything done unless you give us a trifecta. Okay, here's your second trifecta in 8 years, and still nothing gets done. So it becomes demoralizing, frankly.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, Benny, the way we fix this is we have to start vetting these people that are running for office. Don't just take them for their word. Look at their background, get the best we possibly can, get as conservative, true American patriots elected in the Senate, because it's easy to be a Democrat because they don't believe in a damn thing. You know, no law and orders, no border, just give everybody money, steal everything you can. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but we try to be as fair as we possibly can, but we can't get enough people on our side to really believe that, because we have several that are going to vote the Democrat way. And if we don't vet these people, it'll never get any better.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Perhaps maybe you could end in conclusion here by explaining to us something that, only a senator would be privileged to know and understand, maybe in just broad strokes or colors. What's in these inside, you mentioned that multiple times for hours, the senators have caucused and huddled together in order to talk through what would happen here and how to game theory getting the Save America Act passed. What goes on in those meetings exactly, Senator? Like, you know, what could possibly be the holdup here, right? Like what is the argument against it? How's that being made?
Well, I think you have several different ways that people look at this. People look at it in different eyes. You have some that look at, hey, this is a tradition of the Senate. We can't change this. Let's don't try something different. This is not the American way. And then you have some people that have run that are up here that they might have a different type of constituent in their state, and they just feel like that, hey, this is not how my constituents want this to be. They want it to be an open election where they can vote at any time, mail-in ballots. I mean, we're a different country. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Democrats could give a rat about doing anything the right way or the truthful way or within the law or Constitution. We try to do that here, but we have some people that think that a lot of their constituents would rather do it the other way. And to me, if you got voted in as a Republican, you vote as a Republican group, because we're the most American group on this planet right now, and it's the only way we're going to ever get anything done.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd love to be in one of those meetings.
No, you wouldn't.
Doesn't get. Oh yeah, it's probably sick. Probably be sicking me to my soul.
Yeah.
I'd probably quit, hang it all up, delete my accounts, as they say. Nonetheless, we're very happy and thankful for you, Senator. Being there, fighting. I can't blame you for wanting to go back to the great state of Alabama. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you for fighting for us. The great coach, Tommy Tubberville. You can follow him here. Hundreds of thousands of Americans already do. Godspeed, Senator. Thank you for fighting.
Thank you. God bless, Benny.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. The golden version of the Save America Act, President Trump says, go for the gold, not the watered down version. President Trump says, get the full Save America Act passed. You should go for the gold in your own private finances with Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold is, well, how you can ensure that in a absolute kangaroo market, that's what they call it right now, ding, 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 ding. In a kangaroo market, not bull, it's not bear, it's kangaroo, where things are just all over the place. Make sure that you're locked in with commodities, that have withstood the test of time. Have you checked in the price of oil, by the way? Go gold, baby. Advantage Gold takes care of me, my family, using a little-known IRS-approved strategy where I can just flip my 401k and IRA into gold-backed options. It's tax-free. It's penalty-free. You can get started today. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny, B-E-N-N-Y, to 85545. Today, Advantage Gold can help you while America is in its golden era and gold keeps breaking records. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see what happens next. I'm looking forward to following this. It's going to happen in the next week, so that's why we did the whole show on the Save America Act. Will the Save America Act become law? Let's go ahead and check the markets. By March 31st, 5%. By June 30th, 28%. So the markets are low on this. I can't. You can see throughout the show. You can understand why. There seems to be some major hurdles that will have to be overcome by bravery and by force of will and love of country. And those are three things that most senators don't have. But you can find them in our verse of the day from Joshua 1:9. I command you, be strong and steadfast. Do not fear or be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Don't put your faith in senators. Don't put your faith in men. Don't put your faith in presidents, no matter who they are. Men are all fallen and will all let you down. I will let you down. I am deeply, deeply imperfect, get it wrong all the time, constantly having to apologize and make amends and so on. You got to live humble. If you want to live like right by God, you got to live humble and know that it is only through his grace that we can survive and carry on. And so we wish that for you. And this hump day, keep rolling. March with us on to victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Save our ass. Same old crap the ruling class saves itself. But guess what? Guess what? But everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day it is? It's hump day. Yeah. Get it on. Hump day.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal reads. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. Come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.